My husband kissed me on the forehead with a strange smile and sent me to Nizhny Novgorod. I was walking along the platform of Leningradsky station, looking for my carriage, when a bony hand grabbed my wrist. It was Tamara Petrovna, the old cleaner from our building. Her face was pale. "Don't get on that train," she whispered. "Come with me, I need to show you something." If these stories mean anything to you, please subscribe. Your subscription means more to me than you can imagine. It's motivation. It's the reason I keep telling these stories. And write in the comments where you're watching from. Now, let's begin. A September evening fell over Moscow like a heavy wool blanket. Maya Kareva stood by the window of her apartment on the 14th floor and watched the line of cars crawling along Prospect Mira below. It had been drizzling since noon. A cold mist to match the mood in her soul. Behind her, the apartment was too quiet. Her 6-year-old daughter, Lena, was spending the weekend with her grandmother, leaving Maya with 2 days of silence. 2 days to figure out when her marriage had become so empty. In the bedroom, Ratmir stood over an open suitcase, scrolling through his phone. He had offered to drive her to the station tomorrow. The gesture felt staged, like something from a movie. At 38, Ratmir Karev was still handsome. The gym kept him in shape. Expensive haircuts and stylish stubble created that carefully crafted image of effortless success. He worked in corporate logistics at a German automotive company. But lately, Maya had been seeing something else behind the facade: restlessness. For the past week, he hadn't been himself, disappearing on vague errands. She asked twice. Both times he brushed it off with that same practiced smile. Just a problem at work. She didn't insist. That's how it had always been. Their marriage was a quiet agreement. He provided status. She provided order. He never adopted Lena from her first marriage. He was polite, but distant. Maya had accepted this deal 3 years ago. Now she wondered what she had actually gotten in return. "I'll be back Sunday evening," she broke the silence. Ratmir looked up from his phone, and his face took on its usual expression, the same smile. The smile was good, warm and confident, but Maya had learned to see what lay behind it. Now something else was hiding behind it: relief. Anticipation. She couldn't quite define it. "Sunday evening," he said. "Got it. I'll have the car ready by 7. The train is at 8:15. He asked the question but didn't wait for an answer. His gaze dropped back to his phone. Some notification distracted him again. 8:15, Maya confirmed. "I've already printed the tickets and the hotel confirmations. Everything is in my work folder." "You're so organized," Ratmir said distractedly. "That's one of the things I admire about you." The words were correct, but empty. He admired nothing. He was just filling the silence with sound. Maya felt a familiar stab of anxiety that had been visiting her more and more lately. She suppressed it, as she always did. She was a practical woman. She dealt with facts, tables, and measurable results. Feelings were something vague, unreliable. She had learned to ignore them. "Do you want me to make you something to eat?" she offered. "I can heat up yesterday's soup." No, I'm fine. I'll grab something later." "You should get some rest. You have an important presentation tomorrow, right?" He finally put his phone aside, walked up to her, placed his hands on her shoulders, and kissed her on the forehead. It was a marital kiss, chaste and quick. Then he pulled away, and the moment was over. Maya nodded and went into the living room. She sat on the couch, opened her laptop, and pulled up the presentation again. Numbers and charts filled the screen. They were calming in their certainty. A deficit here, a surplus there. A bottom line that could be predicted and controlled. If only life were as simple as a balance sheet. Morning came cold and gray. Maya got up at 6 o'clock, took a shower, got dressed, and was ready by 6:45. In the kitchen, wearing a dark blue travel suit with a scarf around her neck, she drank black coffee from a ceramic mug. Her suitcase waited by the door, packed with the same efficiency she applied to everything. Ratmir appeared at 7:15, tousled and yawning. He had set an alarm but still somehow looked surprised that morning had come. He grabbed coffee, splashed water on his face, and by 7-something looked presentable again. The mask was back in place. They drove to Leningradsky station in his grey Kia Optima, a car that was starting to show its age. The upholstery was worn, and the engine made a suspicious noise at idle. Ratmir had been talking about buying a new car for months. A BMW or an Audi, something to match his professional image. But the money never seemed to appear. Traffic on the third ring road was heavy, and they reached the station only 20 minutes before departure. The station, as always, was full of chaos. Hurried passengers, vendors selling coffee and pastries, endless announcements of arrivals and departures echoing under the high ceiling. The air smelled of diesel and cheap perfume. Ratmir parked in the short-term lot and carried her suitcase to the entrance. They paused for a moment under the massive portico. Morning traffic roared past. "Well," Ratmir said, "have a good trip. Show them what you've got at the presentation." He smiled his smile again. Maya nodded. "Thank you. I'll call when I arrive." She turned to leave, but something made her stop. A sound. A voice. Someone calling her name. She turned around and saw an elderly woman hurrying toward them, pushing a cleaning cart. It took Maya a moment to recognize her. Tamara Petrovna, the cleaner from their building. The woman was over 70. Small, wiry, with gray hair tucked under a faded headscarf, and eyes that missed nothing. "Tamara Petrovna?" Maya said in surprise. "What are you doing here?" The old woman finally reached them, breathing heavily from the rush. She completely ignored Ratmir and stared at Maya. "I need to talk to you alone, right now." Ratmir's expression changed. First confusion, then something else. Wariness. "What's going on?" he asked. His voice was deliberately neutral. Tamara Petrovna finally looked at him, and her gaze was cold. "It's about the building's cleaning schedule. It doesn't concern you." She turned back to Maya and grabbed her hand. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "Come with me, dear. Just for a minute. It's important." Maya looked at Ratmir, then back at the old woman. Something in Tamara Petrovna's eyes made her heart beat faster. This wasn't about cleaning schedules. It was something else. "I'll be a minute," Maya said to Ratmir. "Wait here." She followed Tamara Petrovna a little aside, behind a column, where no one could see them. The old woman's face was grim. "Listen to me carefully," Tamara Petrovna began, quietly but insistently. "I work here at the station 3 mornings a week. The cleaning company sends me. This morning I was in the cafeteria on the 2nd floor, the one overlooking the hall, and I saw your husband." Maya frowned. "He was with me. We just arrived." "No," Tamara Petrovna insisted. "He was here an hour ago. Meeting with 2 people. A young woman, dark hair, very upset, crying. And a man in an expensive but cheap-looking suit. You know the type? Looks like a lawyer, but smells like trouble." Maya felt her blood run cold. The description fit. The woman could be Alina, Ratmir's younger sister. She didn't know the man. "I was cleaning near their table," Tamara Petrovna continued. "They didn't notice me. People never notice the cleaner. I heard something. Terrible things. About money, about debts, about an apartment." She paused, studying Maya's face. "About your apartment, I think." The world seemed to tilt. Maya grabbed the column to stay on her feet. "What? What did you hear?" "I heard the woman say she needed 700,000 rubles by Friday, or her husband would be hurt. I heard your husband say he had a plan. I heard the other man talking about documents. About a power of attorney. About forging a signature. Tamara Petrovna's voice was heavy with the weight of what she was revealing. They were talking about you, Maya. About your apartment on Prospect Mira. Maya's thoughts raced. 700,000 rubles. Alina's husband, Dima, had always had problems. He was a small-time businessman with big ideas and no results. Maya knew he had borrowed money before, but this was different. I have proof, Tamara Petrovna said quietly. She reached into the pocket of her uniform and pulled out a cheap smartphone. I recorded something. Just audio. I'm not young enough to manage video anymore. But the words are there. She pressed play and held the phone to Maya's ear. The recording was muffled, full of background noise, but the voices were clear enough. Alina's voice, tense and panicked. I'm telling you, Ratmir, these people aren't joking. Dima borrowed from the wrong ones. They came to the apartment yesterday and said if the money isn't there by Friday, they'll take Dima out to the forest and he won't come back. Ratmir's voice, calm and calculating. I told you, everything is under control. Maya is leaving today. 3 days, that's all we need. Yakov has the documents ready. A new voice, male, oily and self-satisfied. The power of attorney is perfect. I've got 3 samples of her signature from different documents, rental agreements, bank forms, even a gym membership. By evening, you won't be able to tell the fake apart. Tomorrow we file. The bank approves the loan by Friday, and the money is yours Saturday morning. She comes back Sunday to a nice surprise. Alina, through tears. But the apartment is hers from before you got married. It's not joint property. Ratmir, with a cold smirk in his voice. Doesn't matter. The bank doesn't dig that deep if the documents look right, and with Yakov's signature they'll look very right. By the time she realizes what happened, the money will be gone, and the apartment will have a 1 million ruble lien on it. She'll have to sell it just to pay off the debt. The recording cut off. Maya stood frozen. The phone felt cold in her hand. Her husband, the man she had shared a bed with for 3 years, the man who kissed her on the forehead and said she was organized. He was planning to steal her home. The only real asset she had. The roof over her daughter's head. All to pay off his sister's criminal debts. How did you know to record it? She whispered. Because I've been mopping floors for 40 years, dear, Tamara Petrovna said, her voice softer now. I've seen everything. I've heard everything. And I know that people planning something bad speak in a certain tone. I heard your husband on the phone in the hallway last night. He was talking about a window of opportunity. I put 2 and 2 together, came here early this morning, and I was right. Maya looked at the old woman, this stranger in a faded uniform, and felt tears burn in her eyes. But she didn't cry. She couldn't. Not now. Thank you, she whispered. There's no way to repay this. You'll repay me by not getting on that train, Tamara Petrovna said firmly. You'll repay me by going to the police and a lawyer and stopping them before they ruin your life. Maya nodded. Her mind had already shifted into problem-solving mode. The shock was still there, a cold knot in her stomach, but her survival instinct was taking over. She had a daughter to protect. She had a home to save. She returned to Ratmir. Her legs felt like they didn't belong to her. He saw her face, and his own expression flickered. Concern or calculation? Everything okay? He asked. What did that crazy old woman want? Maya looked at him, at this stranger in the shape of her husband. She wanted to tell me something important, Maya said. Her voice was surprisingly steady. About the apartment. I need to deal with it. I'm not taking the train today. Ratmir's face went through a series of changes, confusion, then disbelief, then something like panic before he pulled himself together. What do you mean you're not going? You can't just not go. Your presentation, your job. I'll call my boss. I'll reschedule. This is more important. Maya held his gaze, searching for signs, and she saw them. A flash of something dark in his eyes. Fear. He was afraid. "You're being ridiculous," he said with a forced laugh. "Whatever that woman said, it can't be that important. Get on the train, I'll handle things here." "No," Maya said, and the word was final. She turned and walked away, leaving him standing there. She didn't look back. She couldn't. If she had looked back, she might have seen the man she thought she had married, and it would have broken her. And she couldn't afford to break. Tamara Petrovna was waiting near the metro entrance. Together they went down into the subway and found a quiet corner near the ticket counters. Maya called her boss, explained that there was a family emergency, and rescheduled the presentation for the following week. Her boss was unhappy but agreed. Then she called her mother. "Mom," she said, and her voice finally trembled. "I need your help. I need Lena to stay with you for a few more days. And I need to tell you something. Something terrible." An hour later, Maya was sitting in the office of a lawyer recommended by Tamara Petrovna. The lawyer, a sharp woman in her 50s named Elena Markovna, listened to the recording and looked at Maya with professional detachment. When the recording ended, she nodded. "This is good evidence," she said. "Very good. But we need to act fast. First, we need to file a restriction with Rose Reister. This will flag your property and prevent any transactions without your personal presence. I can do it electronically right now." While Elena Markovna worked at her computer, Maya called the police. She was transferred 3 times before reaching an investigator who took her seriously. He agreed to meet her later that day. From the lawyer's office, Maya went straight to the police station in Mariina Roshcha. Colonel Sergei Ivanovich Volkov was a large man with a tired face and patient eyes, someone who had seen every kind of human cruelty. He listened to the recording, made notes, and asked a few questions. "This is preparation for fraud," he said. "A serious crime. We will open a case. I'll send officers to bring in your husband, his sister, and this lawyer Finkel for questioning. The evidence is substantial. They'll talk." Maya left the police station when it was already getting dark. She was exhausted, drained, but also, strangely, calm. The worst had happened, and she was still standing. The apartment was protected. The police were handling the case. The trap had snapped shut, and the traitors had been caught in it. She went to her mother's place in Bibarevo, a quiet district in northern Moscow. Her mother, Ludmila Ivanovna, opened the door and silently pulled her into a tight embrace. In the living room, Lena was watching cartoons, curled up on the couch under a blanket. When she saw her mother, she squealed with joy and ran into Maya's arms. "Mom, you came. Are we going home?" "Soon, sweetheart, soon. But tonight we'll stay at Grandma's. We're having a sleepover." With the ease of a 6-year-old, Lena accepted this and went back to her cartoons. Maya sat in the kitchen with her mother and told her everything. Ludmila Ivanovna listened in silence, and with each detail, her face grew harsher. "That man," she finally said. "I never trusted him. Always too smooth, too charming. Men like that always have something to hide." "Why didn't you say anything?" Maya asked. "Would you have listened?" her mother replied softly, but honestly. "You wanted to believe in him. I couldn't take that away from you. But I always hoped you would see the truth yourself. It's just a shame it happened like this." They sat together in the warm kitchen, the samovar between them, and for the first time that day, Maya allowed herself to cry. Her mother held her hand and said nothing. Sometimes silence is the best comfort. The next morning, Colonel Volkov called Maya. All 3 suspects had been taken in for questioning. Ratmir denied everything at first, but when they presented the recording, he broke. All 3 were detained pending charges. Later that day, Maya went home. The apartment felt different now. Empty, but hers again. She walked through every room, touching things, reclaiming them. In the bedroom, she found Ratmir's belongings, clothes in the closet, his watch on the nightstand, cologne on the dresser. She opened a trash bag and began filling it. She didn't want his things in her home a minute longer. The doorbell rang. She opened the door and saw Tamara Petrovna holding a small container of homemade dumplings. "I thought you might not feel like cooking," the old woman said simply. Maya took the container and burst into tears. Tamara Petrovna stepped inside, hugged her, and let her cry. That evening, Maya got another call from the police station. Ratmir wanted to see her. He was asking for a meeting. She almost refused. Every instinct told her to say no, to protect herself, to stay away. But something made her pause. Curiosity, maybe. Or the need for closure. She went to the station. They led her into a small interrogation room. When Ratmir was brought in, he didn't look like the man she had married. He was pale, unshaven, his eyes red from tears or lack of sleep. He sat across from her and was silent for a long time. "I'm glad you came," he finally whispered. "Why?" Maya's voice was emotionless. "So you can explain? Justify yourself?" "No," he shook his head. "So I can tell you the truth. The real truth." She waited. "I've been carrying this for months," Ratmir said. "For months I lied, schemed, hated myself every morning when I looked in the mirror. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I lost 8 kilograms. Look at me." She did look. Really look. He was thinner. His face hollow, his eyes sunken. She had noticed the changes, but had blamed work stress. She hadn't wanted to see. Then why? The question burst out of her. "If you hated it so much, why did you do it?" "Because I didn't know how to stop." His voice trembled. "Alina called me in tears, begging. Dima was going to be killed. Real people, Maya, not movie gangsters. Real men with real knives who had already beaten him once." What was I supposed to say? "Sorry, sister, let your husband die?" You could have told me. And you would have helped? Paid off Dima's debts from your savings? Let Alina move in? You, who plans every ruble 3 years ahead. You, who has a spreadsheet for Lena's future education. He shook his head. You're not cruel, Maya. You just control everything. You need safety. And I needed something unsafe. I needed a desperate solution for a desperate problem. And I found one. Maya felt the ground slipping beneath her. He wasn't entirely wrong. She did control everything. She did plan everything. She kept emotional distance because distance felt safe. Had she created a marriage where her husband couldn't come to her with his real problems? Had her need for order pushed him toward chaos? No, she said firmly, pushing the thought away. This is not my fault. You chose fraud. You decided to steal from me. Yes. I did. He met her eyes. And I'll go to prison for it. I know. But, Maya, before you end this forever, I want you to understand something. I didn't do this because I don't love you. I did it because I love my sister more. And I didn't know any other way. That night, Maya didn't sleep. She sat in the kitchen, drinking cold tea, staring into nothing. Ratmir's words echoed in her head. I didn't know any other way. By morning, she made a decision that surprised even herself. She called Colonel Volkov and asked for a meeting. Not to file anything. To talk. The colonel listened to her request with surprise, but agreed. That afternoon, Maya, Ratmir, Alina, and Yakov Lvovich Finkel sat on separate chairs in his office. Finkel had his lawyer with him, a nervous young woman who kept adjusting her glasses. Maya spoke first. I have proof of the crime, she said calmly. I have recordings. I have witnesses. I can send all 4 of you to prison. She looked at each of them in turn. Ratmir couldn't meet her gaze. Alina was crying silently. Finkel looked like a cornered rat. But I'm not going to do that. The room fell completely silent. Instead, Maya continued, I'm offering you something else. A choice. She laid out her conditions. First, Ratmir renounces all rights to the apartment and signs a full confession. Second, Alina and Dima enter a debt restructuring program. Maya had already researched it. She would help them go through the program. Third, Finkel gives the police the names of all the corrupt notaries and appraisers in his network, in exchange for reduced charges and witness protection. Fourth, all of them will attend family therapy for 1 year. Monthly sessions, paid for by Ratmir. You want us to go to therapy together? Alina's voice trembled. I want to understand how we got here, Maya said. Why my husband's only solution was to destroy me. Why you married a man who borrows from loan sharks. Why Finkel became a predator instead of a lawyer. I want to see if any of you are capable of change. Finkel's lawyer started to object, but Finkel raised his hand. He looked at Maya with something like respect. You are either the most naive woman I've ever met, or the most dangerous. Neither, Maya replied. I'm just tired. Tired of enemies, tired of fear. You tried to destroy me and failed. Now I want to know what comes next. Not revenge, not punishment, something else. The following months were the strangest in Maya's life. Ratmir moved out but didn't disappear. He rented a room in Izmayovo and started seeing a therapist. The first family sessions were brutal, everyone shouted, but by the 6th month, something shifted. They no longer needed to be forced to attend. Dima entered a government debt program. The police arrested 3 loan sharks based on information provided by Finkel. Dima got a regular job, laying cables. He showed up to therapy unannounced and personally apologized to Maya. Finkel began offering free legal consultations. He discovered he was good at it. He discovered he liked it. Ratmir wrote Maya a letter by hand and mailed it to her. I grew up protecting Alina, he wrote. Our father left when she was 5, I was 12. I became the head of the family. I solved her problems, fought for her. When she married Dima, I thought my job was done. But she kept needing me. I never learned to say no to her. I never learned to say to you, help me. I saw you as strong, needing nothing. So I gave my weakness to Alina and my distance to you. It was the worst mistake of my life. I'm still learning. Maya reread the letter 5 times, then folded it and put it in a box where she kept Lena's first drawing, her mother's wedding ring, and a photograph of her father. 2 years later, on a December evening, Maya set the table for dinner. Ratmir arrived first, with wine and chocolate candies for Lena. Alina and Dima came together. Dima looked healthy, Alina was pregnant. Finkel came alone, dressed properly, carrying folders of documents for free consultations he had asked Maya to review. Tamara Petrovna arrived last. Lena, now 8 and full of energy, held her by the arm and helped her inside. The old woman had become a permanent part of their lives, the grandmother Lena never had. They sat at Maya's dining table. A group of people who had once been enemies, conspirators, victims, and predators. They ate, drank, argued about politics, laughed at Finkel's terrible jokes. After dinner, Maya stood by the window, watching the snow fall over Prospect Mira. Ratmir came up and stood beside her. We've become a strange kind of family, he said quietly. Are we a family? Maya asked. I don't know what else to call it. We're not exactly friends. We're no longer enemies. We're something else. Something new. He paused. I'm grateful to you, Maya, for the second chance, for not pushing me away forever. You're not living with me, she said, but there was no sharpness in her voice. I know. I'm not asking. I'm just here, in orbit. Part of the story. Maya thought about that. Part of the story. Yes. That's what they all had become now. Not villains. Not heroes. Just complicated, broken, trying people, bound together by one terrible moment and the choice that followed. I could have destroyed you, she said. All of you. I had the power. The evidence. The law on my side. Why didn't you? She was silent for a long time. Outside, the snow kept falling, covering the city in white, blurring edges, softening everything. Because it's easy to destroy, she finally said. And hard to build something new. And I wanted to see if if there was another way to be strong. Ratmir nodded slowly. And is there? Maya looked back at the room. Lena was sitting on Tamara Petrovna's lap, showing her something on a tablet. Alina was laughing at something Dima had said, her hand resting on her rounded belly. Finkel was helping clear the dishes. The scene was so absurd that Maya almost smiled. Yes, she said. I think there is. The hardest thing in the world isn't destroying those who hurt you. It's building something new from the pieces they left behind. Maya chose creation over destruction, and with that choice, she freed herself from the only prison that truly holds us, the prison of hatred. Sometimes the strongest person isn't the one who wins the war, but the one who ends it. Thank you for listening. If this story moved you, please like, share it with your loved ones, and subscribe to my channel. Stay strong and healthy.